This live stream may contain content that could be perceived as shocking or offensive, but it is presented solely for educational purposes. Viewer discretion is advised. We strive to adhere to community guidelines, and any potentially sensitive material is shared with the intent of fostering understanding and learning.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard. I want to welcome you to today's stream. Today, we have a very special guest. My man, Matthew, has been working at the world famous concert known as Coachella. Matthew, what's up, bro?
What's going on, man?
I'm doing great.
World famous.
Man, I see you over there rocking the Bones and Brew shirt.
Oh, yes, sir.
To have you representing. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. I was wearing the Be Great out there at Coachella, and there's one chick who's she asked me about it, and so I plugged your website, and I told her I do security, and she was kind of like, oh.
You should have had her put it on and take a picture. You should have taken. Did you get any pictures from Coachella with you wearing that shirt?
No, man. It was so hectic. Every time I was going to, something would come up, and I just did not have the time.
Dude,
and then the one time I did have the time. I just didn't even think about it and just kind of wanted to go home.
Hey, it's all good. So today we're going to be talking about working security at Coachella, an officer's perspective. Matthew, how many days is Coachella?
So it's 2 weekends, but they're so it's 2 weekends, and then the actual show days are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday each weekend. There are some guards who will stay for the entirety of the 2 weeks and do like the load in and the load out and the events. And there are other guys that will just come and do like one weekend or a couple days. The schedules are pretty flexible, and they're typically based around your schedule.
Okay.
Because a lot of it is considered gig work, and so there'll be times where you'll be working with one company and the hours just won't be there due to the season or staffing issues or whatever. So it's pretty much, if your company has shifts available for every day, it's kind of up to you, where you want to go and how many hours you want to work.
Okay, sick. Well, listen, let me go ahead and play a quick video and bring everybody up to speed. I'm sure most people know what Coachella is, but let's just get this little news blurb out there. Stand by.
That's going full steam ahead. Coachella 2024 is ready to rock.
Yeah, the festival, in fact, getting started even as we speak. Chip Yost reports from India.
Hello there. We are here in India where people are on their way into the Coachella Music Festival, which kicks off today. Here is some video of what we got on the way in. Take a look. You see that car there? It says Carpool Chella. No doubt we're going to Coachella, a reference to one of the headliners. We also saw a bunch of people getting off a bus in the Palm Springs area. That bus had come in from Los Angeles and had a bunch of people who were headed here to the shows. Now, some of the headliners this year: Lana Del Rey, Doja Cat, Tyler, the Creator, and as you heard in the reference there, No Doubt, Gwen Stefani, and No Doubt having a reunion. The event kicks off this weekend, goes for 3 days, then comes back next weekend. We're told this weekend's shows are sold out, but there were still some tickets last we checked for next weekend's shows. We talked to some of the folks on that bus we just showed you. They came in from Sacramento, a couple of young ladies we talked to. They took a bus last night from Sacramento, got on another bus today from LA out this way. Here's who they want to see.
So this the whole festival, it's 2 separate weekends. So if someone conceivably is going to see Coachella, they come in from Boston. Do they camp out for the entirety of the week in between weekend 1 and weekend 2?
To be perfectly honest, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure. I know most of the staff does. Maybe not most, but most of the staff will camp 1 weekend at a time, and then go back home, recuperate, refresh, and then come back. I would assume that it's like that for most guests as well. Okay. I don't really think they would want just general admission, just kind of hanging out while they're trying to clean up and whatnot. But yeah, as far as I know, it would be just certain staff members that would stay throughout the entirety of the event.
Well, let me ask you a question. What is your background? What's your security background just in general, aside from Coachella?
So I got into security in 2021, right when, probably right when the COVID restrictions here started to loosen up. And I had already been looking into getting into security. And the place that I had initially gone to was this place in Covina, California called Crossroads Security. And they were going to charge me about $500 to get my guard card. It just seemed a little high. And I had a buddy at the time who was doing event security. And I had always kind of wanted to go and see these concerts and stuff. So he said, "Hey, why don't you come and apply with this company?" And so I got in, and I've been here for about 3 years now, coming up on 3 years in probably like September. And
sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, but in between that time, I've worked at dispensaries. I've worked at a marijuana distribution center, which I would never do again. That was just too much. But yeah, mostly though, it's just events. I have a little bit of bouncing experience, but I'm not that tall, and I've lost 60 pounds. So I feel like the intimidation factor that bouncers need is just kind of not there anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm only like 5'9", so I kind of got out of that. And like you always say about finding your niche, I think that's certainly important, because there's times where I was, especially at the distribution center, where I was willing to just walk off the job and leave that post unguarded because of just certain things that would go on there that shouldn't have ever been happening. But event security is where I just feel the most comfortable. I feel like I'm the most competent at it, and I do enjoy my job.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I think that you had asked about maybe even starting a YouTube channel that was focused around event security. And that's one niche that, to be honest with you, I haven't seen a lot of content that's created around it. And I think that's awesome, because listen, when we're talking about, event security, that's something that's so broad. You could be talking about anything from, graduations to parties to huge concerts like this, small concerts. So I think that you really do have a great opportunity there in terms of having a lot of content and a lot of things that you can share with people. My question to you, when you're working an event like Coachella, I mean, all these people, clearly everybody's having a great time. There's so many things that are happening at once. You have the concert, you have the executive protection side of working to protect the entertainers. You also have, the potentials for like riots, the potentials for, people to get trampled, like that happened at the Travis Scott concert
right.
a couple years back. So you specifically working at this event, what type of security are you doing?
So it kind of varies, typically though, it's well, now we're kind of, my company in particular, and I think a lot of companies are going through changes, especially with all these videos coming up of security guards, doing too much or whatnot, or even like and I don't mean to pick on this guy, but the Seattle security guard, how he was unlicensed. That's a big problem in event security. So we've kind of been cracking down on that. But most of the time, we'd be responsible for things like, entry and egress. That's something we do a lot. We do like every event, we'll be at entry and on perimeter for sure. And most of the time, it's literally just telling people, hey, you can't go this way. Giving directions. It's a lot of times it's more of like usher sort of work. But then again, depending on like your post, if you're at like a main stage, that's going to be a little bit hectic, because most events don't allow like mosh pits, but people do it anyways, and there's really not much we can do to stop it. But yeah, we're everywhere at these concerts. We're backstage, kind of making sure that there's no breaches back there, making sure that the talent's, taken care of, and that they're not feeling like they're unsecure. We've been in artist compound. That's usually really tedious, because egos are high, including the staff members that work with the artists. They feel some type of entitlement because they're performing and whatnot. So
I was going to ask you, when I went to Sheepdog Response a couple of years ago in Utah, the guy that taught the class, his name is Jaco Kalili. and he is an Army veteran. I believe he was a Ranger, Special Forces, and he runs the combative side of Tim Kennedy's Sheepdog Response. He's actually the head of security for Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was wondering, like, what is it like for, a security guard in your capacity when you're working the stage, or you're working backstage, or you're working like, the artist compound, in any capacity that you guys are working? How do you guys reconcile the private security of these artists and these celebrities versus what you guys are doing? Do you guys collaborate? Do you talk at all? Or is it like you're doing your thing and they're doing their thing?
So yeah, a lot of times, well, I'll speak for me personally. When I'm at like an artist compound or something, and I see the artists come in with their security team, a lot of times I'm going to try and coordinate with them because, and these guys, they will not come up to us most of the time. They may post around us and, kind of hang out at the trailers with us, but there's really, unless it's like a supervisor or something, the average like EP or artist security won't come up and coordinate with us. But I do think it's important because a lot of times there will be, when there's no coordination, things get mixed up. Artists try to go out exits or entrances that they may not have access to. And now you have, it is what has happened before is two security companies going to blows over, artist egos or a lack of communication more often than not. And so, but yeah, it's like, a lot of times it's like, they feel, they're not in uniform or whatever. And I think they feel like because they're with their artists, they are going to be a step above us, more important than what they're like. They feel like they think their job's more important than ours. And I mean, I the way I see it is no matter where you're at, if, whatever your back of your shirt says, whatever color it is, we're all security, we're all on the same team. And the more we coordinate, the more we can work together, the easier it will be for all of us. And that's something that I tell my guys all the time. And even though I'm an entry-level supervisor, I just got promoted to supervisor probably back in December. And but coordination is something that I think is always good because I've had, even just with my team, like if they're there with the artist guys and they're giving them a hard time, I'll tell them like, well, just ask them like, do they need you to do anything? And if they're still like, being standoffish or they don't really want to talk to you, then okay, well, that's kind of on them. Just focus on your job.
Matt, I have a question for you. The Academy Award, it wasn't the Academy Awards, it was the Grammys that happened a couple months ago. You had the artist Killer Mike that,
You're right.
He wins a Grammy. He's in this, probably one of the best moments of his life. And he gets arrested because apparently he had gotten into it with a security guard. Tried to go into a certain area that was maybe off limits. He didn't have, any reason to go in there. The security guard tries to stop him. And allegedly, I guess he pushes the security guard. As a supervisor, do you have any conversations with your team about interacting with celebrities? Because, just like if you're a law enforcement officer, there's not supposed to be any sort of favoritism that is shown to people, but you're at an event like Coachella. These people are literally the center of attention, the reason why these people are there, the reason why the customers are there, ultimately the reason why you're being paid to be there to work in your capacity. How do you navigate talking to your team and being like, look, we have to get along with the celebrity. You can't be in a position where you're in awe of the celebrity, but at the same time, you can't also allow your staff to be assaulted or mistreated. How do you deal with that?
Right. And that's something that has, it's a bit of an ongoing issue, especially with our hands-off policy now. People are starting to catch on like, oh yeah, these guys aren't fighting. They're not really doing anything. And so they're getting a little more ballsy with how they act. But I'll tell my guys, don't do anything that will make you step out of your character. Don't do anything that'll mess up your income, because these guys act like shit all the time. They don't give a damn about you. And if whatever they're upset about is they're not upset at you, but they will take it out on you.
Right.
So don't feel like they're attacking you because you're you. They're just being shitty. They're going to be shitty. but still treat them with respect, you know. And if they do put their hands on you, then by all means defend yourself, and I'll have your back. You know, and management probably doesn't like to hear that, but I'm not just going to let my guys stand out there and get beat up. But also at the same time, I won't tolerate them, like that security guard. You know, like kind of. I feel like he kind of instigated that issue. You know, like because it's all in how you talk to people too, especially with these artists.
Yeah.
Like you can't come at them like, "Hey, motherfucker, get out of here." You know, like.
Right.
You do that, then all of a sudden their security's tripping, and now you have a problem.
Right.
And a lot of new guys do stuff like that because, you know, they've seen security do it and whatever, and they think that's how you're supposed to do it. And there's a time and a place for it, absolutely. But just off the bat to just be like, "Hey, motherfucker, you can't come here. Get the fuck out," or whatever. That's unacceptable. And I think. Like guys on my team, like I'll have to tell them, like, luckily I've never had anyone like that, but I've made up my mind. Like I'm not gonna risk my job. I'm not gonna risk my team's or my team's safety because this guy has a fragile ego and he can't handle, you know, some rapper blowing smoke in his face or something.
Very well said, man. Matthew, absolute respect to you. Very well said. I'm so happy to hear everything that you just said about that. You're definitely, you know, approaching that type of dynamic in the best way possible. I don't have to tell you that, but it's just awesome to hear you say that.
It means a lot coming from you. I do appreciate it. So thank you, sir.
100%. How does a security guard get the gig working at Coachella? Are there certain requirements for it? Like, how does somebody apply for something like that?
So Coachella, last time I worked, it was 2 years ago, and the hiring standards were, I wouldn't say they were strict, but they were really enforcing the need to have your ID, your guard card. And this last time, I'm not going to drop any names because I don't want to get myself in trouble. And I know other people at these companies that I have a working relationship with that I do unfortunately have to keep. However, I will say that there were a lot of companies there, including one of the big ones, the big major ones that none of us like, that were hiring people that were obviously, clearly on methamphetamine, did not have guard cards. And it wasn't just meth, but there was a lot of it out there. And a lot of it was coming from alleged security.
Yeah.
And these were just random guys who didn't have guard cards. So I think this time it was really like word of mouth. Like, I know a guy who was recruiting his friends, and these guys, you know, I saw a couple of them, and I was talking to them, and they had never done a day of security in their life, and it just kind of seemed like more like who you know, not your experience, not based on requirements, and that's kind of a problem with these big events, is companies will subcontract to fill those deployments, and they'll put somebody in charge who maybe shouldn't be in charge, and they're paying people under the table who shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But for me, the way I would do it is I got locked in with my company at the time. We only did events. Like, I think there was a couple dispensary locations over in Long Beach, but outside of that, we only did events. And so that was all there was for me to do. So every time the work came up, I said, I'd tell my scheduler, you know, put me on that one.
Yeah. So what's the environment like? You know, everybody sees the party atmosphere. I used to be a DJ. I DJ'd at a nightclub outside of Penn State University. And, you know, we used to get it in. This was back in like 2011 to 2016 during the whole EDM dance music movement. And it was crazy. So I can only imagine, you know, what it's like. Is it nonstop, just pandemonium? Are there times where things kind of calm down and slow down? I saw the lineup had a real mix of music. So clearly, like, someone like Lana Del Rey is a little bit more, you know, toned down than, say, Tyler, the Creator. But, you know, can you just give us a little insight as to like what the day is like? What's it like when you're working there? What's the environment like? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really depends on the size of the event, but no matter what event you do, the first 3 hours are going to be hectic. Just, you know, everyone's trying to get in, staff still kind of scrambling around to finalize everything. But typically, though, after those first 3 hours, things kind of start to slow down. Like I remember, but then you have some bigger events, like for example, Burna Boy. When he does a show, the lines just don't stop.
Yeah.
For like 6-7 hours. It's just crazy. So it kind of does vary on the size, but typically once everyone gets in and everyone's kind of getting situated, we start to, dish out breaks, check on our people, make sure that everyone's good if you need anything. And it gets pretty comfortable. It can definitely be intimidating though, especially for like a new guard. You're just thousands of people kind of turning up instantly in front of you. But typically though, if you're with your team, I feel like it's a lot easier because you guys can kind of rely on each other, and maybe your partner's not so good at talking to people, but he's really good with like the hands-on stuff. When let's say like when someone's crowd surfing and we need to get them out of the crowd, your partner can go and he can take care of that while you kind of back him up, or someone's getting crazy with your partner, you can come in and kind of de-escalate that with your voice, whereas your partner would consider slapping the shit out of them and escorting them out. And so, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, you mean do the old good cop, bad cop, right?
Oh, it works all the time. It works all the time. Especially when you start out with the bad cop, and then you bring somebody nice with like a smile and a sweet face. Yeah. And I work with I work for a Samoan company, so it helps to have a lot of them. For sure.
Yeah.
Because even
anybody who's not aware, the Samoan security companies, you're better off doing what they say and not having them get to a point where they got to go hands on, because it is not going to go well. Yeah,
absolutely. And I considered, I had a little beef with a coworker of mine a while ago, and I had to reconsider my next course of action because it's just it's like, you're not going to win this one.
No, not at all. No. So Matthew, listen, before I get you, finish here with the stream or whatever, what can I answer for you? I try to give people an opportunity to ask me a question. You're on the stream and we're sitting here together and you got my shirt on and you're out there, killing the game. So what can I answer for you? It can be anything security related, anything career related. I'm here to answer your question now.
Well, I guess, I've been following you for a little while now, and I've only seen like your dedication to your city and like wanting to see it get better. And I've seen you kind of expose a lot of the things that have been going on there. And I couldn't really think of anything else, but I guess I wanted to ask, what do you think it would take to get Portland back on track for good? If you could say like a blanket statement, obviously I know that's a nuanced question, but if you could just like the first thing, if you were the mayor of Portland said, "Hey, Damien, fix this," what would you do?
If someone said, "What's the first thing that you would have to do to get Portland back in the right direction?" it would be holding people accountable that commit crime. The problem is that, the mindset of the people that have control over Portland is a very left-leaning mentality. They believe in restorative justice. They believe in, housing first. One of the big things they talk about here is housing first, which means that before you address the homeless issue, before you address the drug issue, before you address the crime, the criminality, just put a person into a home. And so if you have someone that's addicted to drugs and living a criminal lifestyle, if you just take them and plant them into an apartment or a tiny home or a living situation, you've just put someone who could potentially be a psychopath into a house. Like you've just put a roof over the head. So that's kind of like the short-sighted view that most people that are here in Portland have. And it's like that across the board. It's like that with accountability. It's like that with, arrest and prosecution. It's like that with homelessness. So there's nothing that is going to save Portland. Portland is absolutely done. They don't have the stomach for it. I'm gonna make this point. I was watching Tim Kennedy over the last couple of weeks, there's been a big movement where I guess like after so many years, like the freedom of information, like a lot of the documents become like public. So there's a big movement right now where people are pulling up records on Jocko Willink, pulling up records on like these Navy SEALs and these sorry
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. They're pulling up records on Navy SEALs. They're pulling up records on all of these famous Navy SEALs who are like YouTube creators, like Jocko, Tim Kennedy, so on and so forth, right? And so they're talking about the things that they did while they were over in Iraq or Afghanistan. And Tim Kennedy made a statement where he said, look, most people don't have the stomach for what happens in war. If you read these documents, if you read these accounts of what we did, and you look at it through the lens of an actual, like a normal person, you're going to say, wow, that's really egregious, right? But it's because most people don't understand what it takes to win a war, if that makes sense. And I thought about that, and I was like, that's a perfect example of Portland. Most people don't have the stomach for what it would take to make Portland a more livable place. So I don't see it ever changing.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. Sorry about all the noise.
Oh, you're fine, man. I know you're out living life, dude. You're fine. It's all good. We understand.
Wow, man. So what do you think? Do you think that any people's minds would ever change? Like, do you think it would get so bad to where people start to reconsider their ideology and say, hey, maybe we were wrong?
Most of the good people that are in Portland have either left or they've actually just given up. You're starting to see people naturally realize the error of their thought process. But I mean, listen, at the rate of speed that it would take for things to change here, you're talking 20, 30 years. And I don't know what's going to happen between now and then. So, I have a pretty negative outlook on it, and I talk to people every day. Most people that have a lot of common sense and have a critical thinking view of things, they've either moved or they're planning on moving. So, I don't think so.
Right. It's kind of similar to LA in that sense.
Yeah, we won't be here forever. We'll be moving at some point in time soon as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way about Los Angeles. That's where I'm at. So, yeah, I get it.
Well, I'm going to give you the final word. I know you had talked about potentially starting your own channel and doing, event security content. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Anything that you want people to know, if you have socials, you can shout them out. If you have a channel already, feel free to share that. If you just want to give your opinion on anything, feel free. This is your moment to talk to the world, bro.
I still haven't decided if I'm going to go through with that yet. I'm still considering it, but I would say, like, just off the top of my head, if you're looking to get into event security, do your research on what company you're going to go with. There's a lot of little small time companies that don't care about you. They'll send you out there and they will not pay you. They'll block your number. So you have to be very careful. If you're going to pick one, I would say pick a fairly big one, a large one that's reputable, one that doesn't start with an A. But there's some good ones out there. You just have to do your research and go and talk to these people if you want if you want to know more. And but just also be aware of what you are getting into. It's long hours. There's shifts are gonna suck. There's times you're gonna want to leave. Security's always wrong, even if it could be a catering matter, but somehow the security will be blamed for it. So, don't take it personally. That's a big one too. People are going to get mad at you for things that you have no control over. Whatever, let it roll off. Don't let it affect your money. Because that's the biggest thing, is people get into these little emotions, I guess, those emotional phases, and they get all bent out of shape, and that's when mistakes happen. That's when people get assaulted. That's when people get into lawsuits, and that's when policies have to change. That makes our job harder. And I would say, like, if you're somebody who likes to fight and likes to get into all that, you missed your mark for event security. That would have been like 5 years ago, when just beating the shit out of people was the norm. So if you go in expecting to do that, you will be fired. You
Yeah.
will be fired. Just know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything else. You know.
Well, Matthew, I appreciate you sharing your experience, man. Like, super cool for you to be at Coachella. And one of the cool things about event security, you're working and you're dialed in, you're focused, but dude, you were at Coachella 2024.
Yeah,
like, what a great thing. You're getting paid to be at one of these awesome concerts, one of these awesome events. So I can't imagine a better way to spend your weekend. If you have to spend it doing security, you might as well be, close to Gwen Stefani and listening to some awesome music, right?
Man, yeah. That's about how I feel about it, yeah.
All right, bro. Well, hey, thank you so much, man. And listen, thank you so much for your support with the Bones and Brew t-shirts, man. Thank you.
Of course, man. Thank you for what you do.
Awesome. You have a great one, okay?
Thanks for the opportunity, man. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. Remember, if you want to be a part of the stream, all you got to do is reach out to me, safeportsecure@gmail.com. We will bring you on. We'll talk about your story, and we will share your viewpoint with the community. You guys be great. Take care.
Fred, just like Juice Jane, 3C.